Please be good. Hey, what's going on everyone? It's NerdyTooth here, back with you for the first ever episode of NerdyTooth Reviews. Happy holidays, by the way. But anyways, today is the first episode of NerdyTooth Reviews, and today we're going to be reviewing Sonic Frontiers for the PC and Xbox One, or Series X, Series S, whatever you have. Xbox. Sonic Frontiers. Is it good? Well, before I dive into my full in-depth thoughts on the game, I want you guys to know that this is my opinion of the game, and just my opinion alone. If you would like to let me know how your experience with the game was, definitely let me know in the comments below. I will be looking at the comments, I always do, and I do appreciate any form of comment that is left. Constructive criticism or anything else like that. The main story of Sonic Frontiers is that Sonic, Tails, and Amy have traveled to the Starfall Islands to find the Chaos Emeralds, but for some reason they've been drawn there for some mysterious reason. They get sucked into a portal and get separated from each other. Sonic gets pulled into a digital dimension known as cyberspace and ends up escaping safely. Sonic wakes up on one of the islands. The adventure takes off. Sonic defeats some Titans, saves his friends, and a lot more is buried deep beneath these islands than we thought. There's a lot of ancient history regarding these islands. So, the main thing about the story is the fact that it's a very simple story. Now, whether that may be a good or bad thing, I think that's a good thing. After the headache-inducing plot that was Sonic Forces, I can't believe that a simple story like this is probably one of the best Sonic stories that have ever actually been in a Sonic game. It was actually very decent. Roger Craig Smith as Sonic does a really good job as playing Sonic, and this may be his last time playing the character, and I think he definitely saved his best performance for his last potential performance as the character. Tails, Amy, and Knuckles, who joins the ride for a majority of the game, also do a very good job with what they're given. I didn't really like Knuckles' voice in the last game, but I do think the voice actor did make a very, very good improvement on the voice in this game. Amy also does a really good job, and so does Tails. Tails specifically has a very good arc in this game that I think a lot of fans, especially if they didn't like Forces, will appreciate this particular version of Tails immensely, because I like it. And there's a brand new character, Sage. Mysterious AI program, who we're not too sure what the allegiance is for the meantime. Sonic has to collect the Chaos Emeralds, save his friends, and destroy the Titans. Or could something else be lurking in the shadows? So the story was a good change of pace, and I think it did a great job for what it needed to do. So the story, in my eyes, was good. Now let's talk about the gameplay. Now the gameplay breaks down into two separate options. There's the open zone gameplay, and then there's cyberspace. I want to talk about open zone really quick, and one other thing before cyberspace, but we'll get to that. Now the open zone gameplay, as we were shown in the trailers, beautiful landscapes to explore, puzzles to interact with, enemies to fight, guardians to fight, and it was good. It was a lot of fun traversing through the landscapes and solving these puzzles, doing these little challenges. It was fun. I definitely can say that was my favorite part of the game, was traversing these landscapes. Some of them weren't the best as others. You have the beautiful grassy hills of Kronos Island, mountains and all that. It was beautiful. The deserts of Ares Island was probably my favorite island out of them all. Chaos Island with its volcanic atmosphere was one of definitely the best looking islands. And then there's Rhea and Uranos Island, which were kind of reusing assets from Kronos, but definitely different in where they placed on the map or where they were located. But the game graphically is beautiful. It looks great. I have a 3060 Ti and I had no issues with running the game at a smooth 60 FPS throughout the way. Through playing it. And I even played it on Xbox for a bit, also looks very good on Xbox. So, the open zone gameplay, while entertaining, there is another aspect to this game known as the fishing. Sonic can transport to this world where he can meet Big, and if he collects a certain amount of purple coins in the map that he's currently on, Sonic can fish and trade the coins to be able to catch fish. Whatever he catches, Big will trade you tokens, and you can purchase certain items in Big's shop. Some of them being these egg memos that actually give you a little backstory behind why Eggman's actually on the Starfall Islands and what he's kind of doing there, and his witness throughout the journey as well. But other items like your power upgrades, your speed upgrades, your defense upgrades, you can get those from his shop instead of doing them out on the outside. You can collect the cocoa. You can just do a lot more other things with that. You can buy memory tokens to give to Tails, Amy, or Knuckles to help them regain their memories back from when they were captured. And even then, just the fishing alone, the music that plays during the fishing adventures is some of the most chill, lo-fi, study, chill stream. Like, it fits so well, and I didn't think that would be a vibe I would really be all that interested with Big, but it works beautifully, and I just love what they ended up doing with this portion of the game. With a mini game, I would want to pay full price just for that mini game. It was that good. Now with that all being said, let's get the big one out of the way. Cyberspace. Now, cyberspace is basically this game's version of the special stage. Now, while you do not receive Chaos Emeralds for playing these stages, you do receive Vault Keys depending on how many requirements you do beat. Each cyberspace level has a requirement. S rank, beat the level, certain amount of rings, time, which was S rank, and all the red star rings. If you complete all of those, all fully, you get additional Vault Keys out of that. And the Vault Keys help you unlock the Chaos Emeralds so you can become Supersonic in the boss fights. So, my biggest gripe with cyberspace has nothing to do with the level design. I was actually a big fan of the level design idea because it makes sense. There's a story reason there why cyberspace is the way it is. Yes, it is a way to reuse Green Hill, Sky Sanctuary, Chemical Plant, and City Escape again, but there is a reason. There is a story reason why they did it. It's not just, oh, here it is. There's an actual story reason why. Cyberspace is going through Sonic's memories, and therefore it's pulling out all these very familiar level design and places that he can run around in and he can escape. My only complaint with cyberspace is the physics. The physics were off. Comparing them to the open zone physics, they were much more stiff, they were more tanky. It felt like if you did a jump and you turned, it felt very clunky. I don't know if they fixed this not yet, but there's going to be an update hopefully to hopefully fix those physics. So we'll see. But other than that, cyberspace was fine. It did what it needed to. I just wish they would have worked on the physics just a bit more. But we'll see what happens in the future updates. So now let's talk about one of my favorite parts of this game, the bosses. Man, the bosses are some of the best Sonic fights we've had in the entire series. Sonic is not going up against just a bunch of robots. He is going up these humongous, ginormous creatures that defend these islands. And it's up to him to take them down to get his friends back. And the way Supersonic controls is very similar to the open zone Sonic, but he's just flying instead. He says the same moves, same control set, it's all the same, except he's flying. And all the bosses were actually very, very good, except for the last two, but we'll get into those a little bit later after I'm done talking about a certain couple more things. So you have Giganto. He's the first boss that you fight. He was very, very, very fun, I think, for a starting boss. The first half of his fight, you're just kind of learning the controls, but once you get him down to half health, he moves into his second phase and he ends up trying to fight back, actually. Like, he's actually putting in some form of effort to fight back. And I liked that. I liked that it wasn't just him doing it and then it wasn't a challenge at all. Wyvern, the second boss fight, my personal favorite, you're flying with him throughout the entire island. You're not just confined to this one spot. You're actually flying around the entire island fighting this flying creature, and he's a bit of a challenge, just a bit of a challenge. He's not too hard, but he is probably one of the best fights in the game in my opinion. But Knight exists. Knight was probably the best fight in the game. The atmosphere, the tone, the whole point of they're not going to try to leave this space. This is a do or die fight. Win or lose, this was it. That fight was just great. And then there's the last two boss fights. You have Supreme in the end. So I want to talk about Supreme first, but I'm not going to spend too much time because the end is where I really want to get into my anger. He's a reskin of Giganto, and the only difference is that he has drones and a gun. And he's just super easy to beat. There was no real challenge because he'll knock you away a bunch of times, but it doesn't really take a whole lot to catch back up and then just start messing them up again. It does not take a whole lot to get back to do that. And I think one of the biggest things I was thinking is like, this is our final boss? That's kind of sad. But if you beat the game on hard mode instead of normal mode, on normal mode, if you beat Supreme, you fight what's called the end. Basically, the main villain of the game was the voice in the sky telling you to do the stuff. Destroy the Titans, because the Titans were actually defending the islands. My problem with it is that the final boss fight is a mini-game reskin from earlier on in the game and not a supersonic boss fight. You made people play on hard mode difficulty for this boss fight. And it's a mini-game reskin? That should be the final boss. That should be the epic final boss. That's the ending of the game. You want that to last with people. If you have this be the final boss, it's gonna ruin people's experience with the game. I was lucky enough to still like the game in the end of the day, but most people always take that last fight with them and they go with that as like, that's what I feel about the game. So my only thing is fix the final boss, and the game's basically great.
Well, I guess right now would be a really good time to mention the music. Who sold their soul to make this soundtrack? Listen to some of this boss music.
I'm hanging on to the other side. I won't give up till the end of me.
that's just some of the boss music in this game. Like, listen to some of this other stuff. And it goes without saying that Cyberspace's music was actually, well, again, just take a listen. Again, this game it's incredible how it got made the way it did. You know, I've never been this excited over a Sonic game since probably Generations. That was 2011. It is currently 2022. We're going to 2023 next year. The next Sonic game has to do even better than Frontiers did, because now the expectations are enormously high again. So we need to go past that to get an even better game. And that's basically what Frontiers was. It was a worldwide gameplay test. And you know what? They passed. Sonic Frontiers was a blast from start to finish, with a little bit of a rough end, but still enough to basically warrant, in my opinion, Sonic Frontiers gets 8 stars out of 10. So that was my review of Sonic Frontiers, and I want you guys to let me know in the comments below, what reviews do you want to see? Do you want to see movies, games, anything else? Because this is what this whole segment is. This is just me reviewing something that I watched that I want to talk about. So definitely let me know what you'd like to see in the future. Also, keep an eye out for the newest episode of R&R. We are working on it very hard. It's almost finished. I know I said the last video that R&R would be the next episode or the next video that would be coming up, but unfortunately just time gets in the way with a lot of things, and I had to get something out to you guys, and I'm trying out a lot of new equipment. I got new lights, new camera, new everything. I've added more stuff to the shelf behind me, obviously. And even then, guys, let me know if you want an update on this, because this has definitely grown since the last time we talked about movies. So if you want to see an update about some of the movies that I did get recently, I'll make that video. Just let me know in the comments below if you want to see it. So without further ado, I'm NerdyTooth, and remember guys, keep calm and nerd on. I'll talk to you later. Peace.